Here at 1340, time for our spotlight on the Salem Memorial District Hospital. We got Trudy Rutland with us this morning. Trudy's in. She's all masked up, so we're going to let you know. And say the look gets a little bit muffled, but I don't think so. We'll be good to go. But Trudy, good to have you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Anyway, yeah, Trudy, we all know with the COVID-19, this is just a really weird time in our history that I don't think anybody could imagine this is ever going to happen, but it has.
Yes.
And in doing so, we are all trying to take as many precautions as we can to keep from getting that virus in our area. And the hospital is doing their part. But we were talking
Yes,
before we came on the air, as these rules change daily, don't they?
Yes, they do.
How tough is it in your position, when you're talking with people and stuff? I mean, this has to be a little bit difficult because you're a real social person and you can't be all that social, can you?
No, we can't. This has really been one of the toughest challenges that I have ever faced when it comes to the long-term care industry. Mm-hmm. We've had to do a complete lockdown with our long-term care in order to protect our elders, right, because they are more susceptible to this disease. And not knowing how it's transmitted, we're all living in fear that we are going to cause a virus in our home without even knowing that it did.
Right. It's not so much I fear for me, it's what I would do to somebody else.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And especially as you're talking, when you get to the senior citizen population who may be battling something, especially if they have emphysema or something of that, or
Mm-hmm.
if FAD's congestive heart failure, you don't want to be putting that extra
Right.
strain. It's just very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So with a lot of the changes we've been made, I know earlier on the hospital was testing everybody that went in for temperature, but then I believe it was last Friday, I think they had to make the change, no visitors.
Correct.
And
Mm-hmm.
again, that's a total precaution because one visitor coming in can totally infect the hospital.
The entire hospital staff, and even though we're in lockdown on long-term care, we still have to have access to the ancillary departments to continue with some of the services they provide.
Sure.
But our unit itself has been on lockdown longer than the hospital,
Right.
and we prohibited all visitors and deliveries to the department. Just here recently with the hospital doing no visitors, we've eliminated non-essential staff, which includes the housekeeping, some of the pharmacy people, dietary. We've got to where we've got a doorbell on our door, and they will come and ring our doorbell, and then we're taking over the responsibilities for what they normally would do.
So they set the food down outside. You go get it.
And we go get it,
Right.
yes.
Okay. And to try and just avoid any possibility.
Right.
And now, and let's just let everybody know, virtually, I think everybody in the hospital is wearing masks right now, aren't they?
Yes, we were given PPEs to wear, and on long-term care, we are wearing them consistently now.
Okay, and these are the good grade ones, right?
Yes, yes.
Because people will say, well, yeah, but they're telling us there's no PPEs available anymore. I said, well, hospital has them. And I would talk to Linda Milady here from Materials Management. She said, it's getting harder to find these things. We're going to secondary markets, even third markets, to find some of the things that we need to protect our patients.
It is getting difficult, and I know with the PPE that we have, it was donated by the community, the cloth mask, the ones we're using on long-term care,
Right.
and our staff have figured out ways to put filters inside the mask to help give an extra layer of protection for our residents.
Right, I hear some people are using coffee filters and
Coffee
different things
filters.
of that nature. Some people are using a different type of filter that's used in air purifiers.
Yes.
So obviously, that I think, what is it? The Eden Pure air purifier filters. Okay.
The blue shop towels, so we're
Yep.
using those as well. And I think any type of protection is better than no protection.
Sure. And again, the masks aren't for your protection; it's to protect those others in case you cough.
Correct.
And people don't understand when they talk. There is moisture that does come out of your mouth anyway, and it
Yes.
does travel. Everybody always said, "Well, these droplets are talking about only if you cough or sneeze." That's not true.
No, when you're talking, you're emitting moisture. It's just part of the daily life.
It really is. So with all the extra precautions that are being taken, and we know the hospital has done a tremendous job of communicating and letting people know, it just changes the whole atmosphere, doesn't it?
It is, and I have to tell my staff every day, our world is not what it used to be. Everything we did last week, we're not doing today. And what we're doing today, we may not do tomorrow.
Right.
So it's changing on a daily basis. The saddest part about it is our families.
Mm-hmm.
They can't come see their loved one. They want to know how they're doing, and we are trying to do everything possible to have some interaction with the families with phone calls, emails, pictures, FaceTiming.
Yeah. Can they look out the window and see them?
They can look out the windows.
Yeah.
We call them window visits, but we can't we can't open the windows,
No.
and so they can't talk to them. But anything we can do to have that interaction is the benefit for our residents.
Now, long-term care has gone through some renovations, too, that got done prior to all this happening, right?
Yes, it did.
How's that working out?
Oh, it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. The construction crews did a great job of keeping all the dust and dirt down. I can't say anything for them other than they're wonderful. We even had our state survey at the same time that the construction was going on, and not one safety code was violated.
Wow.
So I was very thrilled with that.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, especially
Yes.
when everything, like that, topsy-turvy. And it wasn't some simple construction either. You were actually adding a new bathroom and shower area, too, correct?
Yes, we had a whole new bathroom installed.
So that's new plumbing somewhere.
New plumbing,
Yeah.
yes. The floor was torn up. We had a whole shower room remodel, and we had a new beauty shop installed.
Right. They changed an office to a beauty shop? Is
Yes.
that what they did? Okay,
Yes.
okay. Very good. Well, I know there's supposed to be some more work done with some windows, and that's probably going to get held off quite a bit now.
It
That
is
was
put
supposed
on-
to have started already, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's been put on hold right now, which is fine with me.
Yeah. Very good. Is it harder on the patients not being able to actually touch and see their family? Because it's difficult. Don't you feel? Don't some of your family? I'll say family members, because you guys down there in long-term care, it's like a family.
Yes.
But don't they feel sometimes when they see their immediate family, they can't touch them, they can't see them? It's got to be difficult to do that, right?
It's very difficult for the residents because for instance, when we FaceTime, they're crying, the residents crying, the family's crying, we're crying because we feel the heartache. I mean, they miss them. They miss each other, and especially the residents who recognize their family members.
And there's something about that touch.
Yes.
When you touch your family, that's reassuring.
Yes.
It's like a mother's touch to a child. It's reassuring to the child. Child relaxes. and then the mother feels better because now they have control of this situation a lot of times, and it's just something that people don't understand. They say, "Well, it's not that big a deal." It is that big
Yes,
a
it
deal, and
is.
for some people, that sense of touch is more important than any communication, verbal, that you could ever do.
That is right. And when
know.
you're dealing with the brain and dementia, and you're trying to get a person to look at a computer with their image on there, their family member's image,
Right.
the dementia mind can't comprehend what's going on.
Yeah.
And that touch is where we need our families back, but unfortunately, we can't right now.
No, and do you think, we're talking about this situation with the COVID-19 that's affecting our Salem Hospital, that there will be new protocols put in the future based upon what we've just gone through that would not have been there had we not gone through this? Do you see that happening?
I believe so, yes. And I know in long-term care, there's going to be some changes implemented on our end because of this. We've never experienced anything like this before, and it's taught us all a lot of new things we need to be doing for self-awareness and how to take care of our residents. And yes, we will be implementing different protocol.
Is there a fear factor, especially when it started in Washington State? This went through a residential care facility, and I think 9 people out of that residential care facility actually passed on.
Yes.
It only took one person going in there and just spreading this. Was that become a fear factor, or do you try and keep the residents away from hearing all this stuff? Because you guys are sterile in there. They've done a tremendous job, but it would play on your mind if you felt like you're trapped, you can't get out.
I think that fear factor is more with my staff because we are out in the community and we're interacting with different ones. I mean, we have to go get groceries. That's
Sure.
just part of life.
Sure.
And to inadvertently bring something back into the home, that is my biggest fear. So my staff and I, we have scrubbed our hands so much. They're raw, and we're just trying everything possible to not expose our residents because we have to have such close interaction. The 6 feet apart is not something we can do.
No, well, no, you have to help them sometimes.
Yes.
And it is very important that, people realize that the 6 feet, and I know that people say, well, that's my best friend. I don't have to worry about him. Unless
Yes,
you're
you
with that
do.
best friend 24/7, yeah, you do.
You do.
And, it's kind of funny because you mentioned this, and just yesterday I had, when I went to the R80 board meeting, of course, we're all sitting so far apart, but I saw this 2 younger girls that looked like they'd been working out or running, walking almost arm to arm, walking down the sidewalk. I thought, guys, 6 feet means 6 feet.
That's right.
Not 6 inches, not 6 feet. When you're here or here, it's 6 feet, and you should stay apart. And I know there's groups of 10 that they say you want to limit the groups of 10, but that groups of 10 still means 6 feet. It doesn't sink in. I think
That's right.
think, well, I was under my group of 10, and I've seen these young kids in their cars, and they get together, and they're 2 to 3 feet apart. They're younger kids, and of course, you all know they're 10 feet tall and bulletproof.
Yes, they are.
At least they think they are. I mean, I was there once.
They're invincible.
I think we were there one time when we were in some of our younger days. We all felt like, yeah, I won't get it, and if I do get it, that'd be no problem. Well, you know what, Trudy, and I bet you can probably tell me this more accurately. There's a lot of people out there that may not know they have a compromised immune system, or possibly some damage in their lungs from maybe a flu bug that they had earlier this year, that they actually are still compromised, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They are. And that's one thing with our mask. So people look at me funny. I mean, why are you wearing that? Are you sick? No, I'm protecting you from me in case I'm accidentally carrying something. And that's the purpose of it, because I don't know your immune system,
Right.
just like you don't know mine.
Yeah, I remember getting on a plane. This guy had a mask on. He says, I'm not wearing it for you. I'm wearing it for me. I said, no, it's just the opposite. He goes, no, I don't want to get any of that germs in. I said, so when you take that off to eat, and all this air's out here, and you're in a plane that's recirculating, I don't think you accomplished your goal. I said, but if you've got that on there to prohibit you from coughing things out, or if you have, something, then, I appreciate you doing that. I really do. But he said, it's just for me. I said, well, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but you're wrong. But it doesn't really, it may help a little. It may help a little. I won't say there's nothing it doesn't help with, but for the most part, though, it's the ejection from your mouth of or nose,
The droplets.
from the droplets, and then of course you get it on your hand. Most of us, if we sneeze,
You would
first
be
thing you do is you usually put your hands up.
That's right. You would
and then
be
you-
amazed how many times you touch your face in
Oh,
a
I
day.
know. And then you put your hands down. And where do you put your hands down? Well, we all know this virus can live an hour or two on cardboard, and
That's right.
and 3 hours or 3 days on metal surfaces.
That's right.
So
And bringing that up, we have a lot of our residents whose families do the laundry services. So we've been dealing with how are we going to get this exchange of laundry with the dirty and clean clothes. So we implemented a curbside service with these families. We have exchange times on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and I talked to our infection control officer about the clothes coming in. What am I going to do with these to make sure we're not bringing something in? So we've implemented a protocol where we're letting the clothes sit for 48 hours in a designated space before we introduce them back into the rooms.
yeah.
And so hopefully this is going to prevent anything coming in accidentally.
Yeah, I was reading that some hospitals are using an ultraviolet light, and I don't know if it's what heat absorb. I don't know what it does, but it says it just eliminates the germs. They can actually turn it around in less than a day. But
That's
it doesn't mean
interesting.
everybody has that ultraviolet light. I don't
Right.
know what kind that is, and I don't know what it senses. But anyway, supposedly it's able to eliminate the germs, which that's fantastic. That doesn't mean if you go underneath it yourself, you're going to eliminate the germs.
Right.
But I mean, it doesn't cure the virus that way. But it does on surfaces. And I remember reading a long time ago, there are some ultraviolet lights, and that's like, I don't know, it goes over and it can kill, or at least isolate where the germs are. You can then go cleanse it and then get it done.
Yeah.
So, at least there's some things coming out of this that we did not have before.
Right.
That might be able to expedite things in the future should anything like this happen again. Well, Trudy, you guys do a tremendous job at long-term care. I'm going to tell you, anybody that's
Thank
not
you.
been in long-term care, you guys are still full, 18?
We have 18,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, there's still a waiting list. I'm
There
pretty
is
sure.
a waiting list,
Yeah. And people can get on that waiting list, can't they?
they sure can
Because-
at any time.
Because let me be honest with you. Sometimes I remember my dad. My dad, when he hit 90, his brother told him he needed to go into residential care. Okay, my dad was not ready to go in residential care at 90, but his brother told him, "You need to go in there. They'll do all this for you." Well, my dad still cooked on his own, still drove on his own, still wanted to go to casino on his time. He wanted to do things. He was still getting around fine, looked great, and but his brother said, "You're not capable of doing these things anymore." Well, he doesn't live there. He lives in Florida, So he came up and in one weekend convinced my dad that basically, it's time to go into this residential care. So I went up there and he showed us where he wanted to go and stuff. And as he's walking through there, he's starting to walk like he's, really not capable of doing this on his own. I looked at him and said, "What's wrong with you?" He goes, "What?" I said, "You're walking slower now than you have been." And I said, "What is wrong with you? Would Tony tell you this is going to happen? And you just all of a sudden
He gave up.
gave up? You got to leave your home?" I said, "Dad, you're perfectly fine at home. You watch your TV, you cook your meals, you got your bedroom, you got your house. You still got people coming by. You sit outside and you visit with them all day long." I said, "You won't have that when you come here. You'll have people you'll visit with, but you're not sitting outside. They don't know you. They bring their dogs up. They pet the dogs, and And he had a great rapport. One of the first people in their neighborhood, and of course, everybody knew who he was. He didn't go in for 4 more years. After he thought about it, he said, "You're right.
Yeah.
I don't need to do this yet."
As long as he's independent and can take care of himself at home.
Now, there came a time after he had an accident, he needed to go into residential care, and unfortunately, he didn't have a chance to really enjoy it very long. But, it is something when you have that freedom, when you give that freedom up, it's hard to get back. It doesn't mean long-term care you don't have freedoms. You still do. But some of that is sometimes forced upon you where maybe you're not mobile anymore. Maybe you're relying on a wheelchair or a walker to get around. And maybe you have a lot of steps in your home and it's just not conducive anymore.
And
it does happen, doesn't
and the
it?
caretakers, yes.
Right.
Because it's a full-time job, and it's a challenging job to be able to care for somebody 24/7. And we try to tell our families, don't feel guilty for having to place them in a long-term care facility, because you did the best you can, and now it's the time that we can do the rest, and then you can get some rest yourself.
Sure. But if they're not ready to go in yet and they get on a waiting list, if they call and you say, "Not ready yet,"
And that's perfectly fine.
that's perfectly fine.
Yes.
Absolutely. So
They can decline a bed.
Hey, don't ever want to force that on anybody, but obviously, and my dad knew when it was time.
Right.
He said, "It's time."
And I encourage everybody to get your name on the list, because there are several who are on our list who decline the bed all the time because they're not ready. But
That's great.
We always have them on the list and check back with them to see where they're at as beds open up.
Okay, so how do they get on the list, Trudy?
They would need to call the social service department, Lisa
Okay.
Delaney, and speak with her, and she'll get some
She's a
information.
hoot, guys.
She
Okay.
is. I can't do what I do without Lisa. I mean, she's part of our
pretty
team.
special, isn't she?
Yes, she
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And she'll get them on the list, and we review it periodically to see where people are at, and just go from there.
Well, it's fantastic. Anyway, I remember when long-term care got added to our hospital, and it was a wonderful addition back then, and boy, it was a much-needed addition, and still needed today, very, very much. And again, it's a wonderful facility, and if you haven't been there, I will tell you to visit, but you can't do it now.
Can't do that now.
But somewhere down in the future. And I'll tell you what really becomes fun. And people say, "Well, what can they do? You guys have cardinal nights. You guys, there's all kinds of different things that go on in long-term care.
We have so many activities, especially right now because we are the entertainment. We've had to cancel all the outside activities
Sure.
that come in because of the pandemic that's going on.
And there used to be a lot of outdoor activities that came in. What we mean by
Yes.
outdoors, outside activities, you guys should have the choir come
We
and
had the
sing and
choir,
different
we
things,
had
and
visitors.
family. You'd have family day. And,
Yes,
yeah, okay.
so much. We had the Cardinal Day,
Right.
which we were looking forward to that, but unfortunately that was
I
canceled.
think opening day, you guys always had a big
Yes.
to do. Okay.
Barbecue, and which we might need to have a barbecue. That's a good idea. But
A day like today, it sure
Yes.
would not hurt anybody to get outside.
But the activities that we're having to do now, we are just creating anything and everything. We sing, we dance, we do cheers, we do sitter-cise, everything that we can think of. We try to do something to get
Keep
them
'em
entertained.
active, right?
Keep them active, keep them entertained.
And keep their mind going. And
Yes.
So you don't get old when your mind keeps thinking. You
That
keep
is
moving.
right.
Yeah, just you got to keep them going. So and that number, do you know what her extension is? 729-6626, Lisa's extension.
For Lisa, I know mine. You can call me at extension 3332, and then
Okay.
I can connect you with Lisa.
Very good. So extension 3332. So if you have a loved one you would like to get on a long-term care waiting list, feel free to do so. Hey, maybe they'll never ever need it. That would be great. But if they do need it, you want to be on the list.
You do.
Trudy, loved having you here.
Well, thank you.
Trudy's a fantastic lady, and we were talking earlier when her and her daughter had the routine at Dancing with the Stars last year. It was so much fun. Didn't get a chance to do it this past year, but still
Hopefully
look forward
next
to
year.
it again.
Next year we
Yeah.
are planning on it.
Look forward to it again. But when she says they're dancing and they're doing stuff, I can already vision what you guys are doing. Probably not that routine, but maybe
But something similar.
something similar. That's okay. That's fine. And they have a good time with it. And keeping a smile on people's faces really keeps them young, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Really
does.
Again, thanks for coming in, spending some
Thank
time
you.
with us. Trudy Rutland from Long-Term Care at our Salem Memorial District Hospital. Civic happenings are next in a moment.
The 2020 census is our chance to make sure all Missourians are represented. When every person living in Missouri